My dad said I owed him, then tried to steal my brother's baby by making my house a legal trap. Hi, I'm Darren, 36, and I always thought the scariest thing I'd ever face was getting laid off or crashing my car. Then, my own father broke into my house twice and tried to forge custody documents to steal my unborn nephew. Yeah, that happened. I got back from a brutal work trip expecting an empty house and a long shower. What I got instead was my 7 months pregnant sister-in-law, Emma, in my living room, surrounded by suitcases and prenatal vitamins, watching 16 and Pregnant. I froze. Emma? She jumped. Oh, Harold said you weren't back until tomorrow. Harold, my father. I told him last week very clearly that Emma couldn't stay at my house. Not with her complications. Not with my work from home security setup. Not for one night. And yet there she was, with her maternity pillow on my couch and a half-built crib in my guest room. Irving, she said, your dad said you were happy to help. I laughed. It wasn't a funny laugh. It was the kind of laugh you make when the walls start cracking and your life feels like a prank. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just said, this isn't your fault. But you can't stay here. She looked crushed. I called my dad. Voicemail, of course. Then I called my stepmom, Diane. Did you know? Her pause was all the answer I needed. This wasn't a miscommunication. It was a hostile takeover. By the next morning, Harold came waltzing in with fancy coffee and a smug smile, ready to convert my home office into a nursery. You're back early, he said cheerfully. Great. You can help move the desk. I told him no. I told him to pack up and get out, and that's when it began. The guilt. The gaslighting. Are you seriously throwing out a pregnant woman? No, I was throwing out the man who used her like a pawn to overtake my house. He wouldn't leave. So I called the cops, and Harold laughed in my face, until the patrol car rolled up, and the handcuffs came out, the cuffs clicked, and for the first time in my life, Harold Collins, my father, my lifelong tyrant, looked stunned. Not angry, not smug, just stunned. He barked the usual threats as they led him to the patrol car. You'll regret this, Irving. This is family business. I know people who can ruin your life. The officers didn't flinch. One of them even said, that sounds like a threat against law enforcement. Want to add that to the charge? Meanwhile, Emma sat on my couch sobbing. Pregnant, exhausted, blindsided. I booked her a hotel with a kitchenette and covered a full week. Called her a rideshare. When she left, she whispered, I didn't know. I'm so sorry. I believed her. Back inside, I changed the locks. Called a locksmith. Bought a smart doorbell. Installed motion-detecting floodlights. My home was a fortress now. Then the fallout began. Marcus, my brother, the man who couldn't say no to our father if his life depended on it, called me. Furious. You had Dad arrested? For trying to help? She's your sister-in-law. She's pregnant. What's wrong with you? What's wrong, I said calmly, is that you both think you're entitled to make decisions about my house without asking. But you have space. We're struggling. It's not like she's a stranger, she's family. That's not the point. Of course. He hung up on me. 20 minutes later, I got a text from my dad's friend Walter. Just one line. You'll regret what you did to your father. Watch yourself. Aw, the veiled threats. Classic. I called my lawyer friend. Told him everything. He said I'd been more than patient and should document everything moving forward. Then came the next wave. My aunt called to say I'd destroyed the family over a spare bedroom. Cousins messaged me to pick sides. Some applauded, some condemned, and then Diane showed up on my doorstep. She looked exhausted, hair unbrushed, no makeup. That alone told me this wasn't a social visit. Irving, she said, I had no idea Harold planned this. He told me you'd agreed. I should have known. He's been getting worse. She told me he was furious, plotting. She said he was convinced if he could just get Emma fully moved in a cave, that I wouldn't be able to kick her out once the baby came. He's not done, she warned. He's trying again. Be careful. Maybe install cameras. Already done. Told her. And thank God I had. Because at 3:10 a.m. that night, my phone buzzed with motion alerts from the front door. I checked the feed, and there he was, Harold, with a stranger, a man holding a locksmith's kit, trying to break into my house. Again. The camera feed showed Harold pacing on my porch like a man possessed. Whisper hissing at the locksmith he'd dragged into his madness. Just open it, he snapped. My son's inside sleeping. I need to check on him. Sleeping? I was wide awake, gripping my phone so hard my knuckles were white. The locksmith hesitated. Sir, this doesn't feel right. Are you sure this is your house? Harold lied without blinking. Of course, it is. Just open the damn door. His stomach turned. He wasn't just breaking in, he was willing to make a stranger complicit. If the guy had popped the lock 10 minutes faster, Harold would have been in my hallway setting up the fake lease agreement I didn't yet know he'd forged. I hit 911. There's someone trying to break into my home, I told the operator. Yes, I can see them. It's my father. He was arrested earlier for trespassing. No, I'm not opening the door. Please hurry. Police response time? Unreal. 2 cruisers rolled up silent siren fast. Lights washing over the yard. The officers approached from behind. Gentlemen, step away from the door. Hands where I can see them. The locksmith nearly jumped out of his skin. Hands shot up instantly. Harold turned around slowly, like he was inconvenienced at a restaurant. Officers, thank God. My son locked himself in. And I, sir? One officer cut him off. We spoke earlier today about trespassing. You were explicitly warned not to return. Harold stiffened. This is family property. Is your name on the deed? No, but sir, attempting to bypass a lock on a home you do not own constitutes attempted breaking and entering. Turn around. And just like that, for the second time in 24 hours. My father was handcuffed in front of my house. Even then, he tried to intimidate them. I know people. Judges. You have no idea what you're doing. This is a family matter. My son will fix this. I stepped outside, arms folded. The older officer asked, Mr. Collins, would you like to press charges? Harold whipped his head toward me, eyes wild. You wouldn't. I looked him dead in the eyes. I am. The officer nodded. We'll also note the violation of release conditions. They loaded him into the cruiser while the locksmith apologized profusely he'd been lied to, manipulated into committing a crime. Told him, it's not your fault. He'll lie to anyone to get his way. After the cruisers pulled off, I stood alone in the cold, barefoot on my porch, watching the taillights fade, and for the first time in my life, I realized something terrifying and liberating at once. My father wasn't unstoppable. He wasn't powerful. He wasn't even complicated. He was just a man who'd spent his entire life believing no one could ever say no to him. And now someone finally had. The next morning, Marcus showed up at my door like he'd been rehearsing a speech all night. He didn't knock. He pounded. Irving, open the damn door. I'm not leaving. I opened it. Only because I didn't want a scene on the sidewalk. He barged in, immediately on the offensive. You had Dad arrested. Twice. Are you proud of that? What's next? You want to put him in prison over a misunderstanding? Marcus, it wasn't a misunderstanding. It was breaking and entering. It was trespassing. After arrest, it was manipulating a pregnant woman and dragging a locksmith to my house in the middle of the night. He scoffed. You always make everything sound dramatic. I just stared at him. He tried to illegally move Emma in here, twice, without my consent. And your idea of family unity is to yell at me for not letting it happen? Because we were desperate. He snapped. Emma's on bed rest. We're out of room. And Dad said you'd help. He said you owed us. That last word landed like a punch. Ogio repeated. I owed you? Marcus, I covered your rent for 2 years after college. I got you your first job interview. I paid for your wedding tux. What exactly do I still owe you? He didn't answer, just stood there, chewing on his guilt. Or maybe on the realization that Harold's leash around his neck had gotten tighter than he'd realized. Then I dropped the real bomb. I saw the documents. What documents? The fake lease agreement. With your signature. And Dad's. The one he left in his truck. He was going to try to claim tenancy. He thought if Emma gave birth in this house, he could file for guardianship. Use her postpartum condition against. Marcus turned gray. He sat down. Didn't even ask. Just collapsed into the kitchen chair like his knees gave out. I didn't know, he whispered. I swear, I didn't know he was going that far. I poured 2 glasses of water, slid one to him, sat down across the table. He looked like a kid again. Like the little brother who used to follow me around with jelly on his fingers and a Lego in each pocket. But I wasn't his fixer anymore. I couldn't be. You need to get Emma out of Dad's reach. Now. Today. You understand? He nodded slowly. We'll figure something out. You'll need help. But not from him. Marcus left without another word. That night, I emailed my lawyer. Explained everything. Attached screenshots from my door cam. Explained the fake lease. Mentioned possible coercion of a vulnerable pregnant woman. He replied with 2 words. Let's proceed. I didn't know yet what Harold's endgame had been, but I was about to find out, and it would make me question everything I thought I knew about the man who raised me. 2 days later, I got a call from a blocked number. Normally, I don't answer, but something told me this wasn't spam, Mr. Collins. A woman's voice said, yes. This is Officer Vega with County CPS. We've received a guardianship inquiry involving an unborn child. Your name was listed as a potential witness. I blinked. I'm sorry, what kind of inquiry? She hesitated. It was filed by a Mr. Harold Collins. He's petitioning for provisional guardianship of a newborn, citing concerns about maternal instability and unsafe living conditions. My chest went cold. Is this about my sister-in-law, Emma? Yes. She's listed as the biological mother. No father is listed. The address given for the newborn's residence is yours. I almost laughed. The baby isn't even born yet, and she doesn't live here. That's why I'm calling, she said gently. The claim is unusual, especially since Mr. Collins doesn't reside at the listed address and isn't immediate custodial family, but we're required to follow up. Are you available for an in-person statement? Yes, I said. Absolutely. I hung up and sat there in silence for a solid minute. Then I stood up, walked to the fridge, opened it, closed it, did nothing. He wasn't just trying to take over my house. He was trying to take someone's child. I texted Marcus. Dad filed for guardianship of your baby. Told CPS Emma was unstable. No reply. An hour later, he showed up at my door again. Face pale, shaking. He told her, he said. Emma, he told her he'd take the baby, that she wasn't fit, that if she didn't move into your house and follow his plan, he'd handle it legally. I thought he was bluffing. He wasn't, I said. He's weaponizing the system. We sat down again, quieter this time. No shouting, just reality. Do you still trust him? I asked. He shook his head. I haven't trusted him in a long time. I've just been afraid. I nodded. I understood that kind of fear. He's not going to stop unless we stop him, I said. Emma needs legal protection, and we need to cut him off at the knees before this gets worse. I'll get her a lawyer, Marcus said. Whatever it takes. I called mine back and gave him everything. The false CPS claim, the forged lease, the repeated trespassing, the threats, all of it. His answer, let's take him to court. That night, for the first time in weeks, I slept through the night. The storm was coming. But this time, we were building the lightning rods. Court day came faster than expected. It wasn't a full custody trial yet. It was a preliminary injunction. We were petitioning for a protective order for Emma and unborn baby Collins, to block Harold from contacting her, filing further claims, or using forged documentation. The courthouse smelled like stale carpet and stress. I sat beside Emma and Marcus. Emma wore a loose sweater that barely hid the shape of her belly. Her face was pale, but her hands were steady. Harold sat across the aisle, smug as ever, in a suit 1 size too big, and confidence 2 sizes too loud. He even tried to wink at me. The judge, a stern woman in her 50s, with no time for nonsense, opened the hearing like she was already annoyed we were wasting her lunch hour. Mr. Collins Sr., she said to Harold, you've submitted guardianship paperwork for a child not yet born. Your claim includes allegations of maternal instability, yet provides no supporting evidence beyond handwritten notes and a signed lease to a property you do not own. Do you have legal counsel? Harold stood. Your Honor, I represent myself. I have a right as a grandfather to protect this child from an unstable home environment. Sit down, she said, flatly. You have the right to follow the law. You do not have the right to fabricate residence claims or coerce entry into someone else's home. Let's talk about that forged lease. And just like that, the air shifted. My lawyer presented the real property deed with my name on it. security footage from both break-ins, screenshots of the locksmith interaction, even a text Harold had foolishly sent Marcus that read, "Once she's in, Irving won't have the balls to fight it." The courtroom fell silent. Harold tried to interrupt. "That's being taken out of..." "No, Mr. Collins," the judge cut in. "What's out of context is your entire understanding of the law." She turned to Emma. "Do you feel unsafe?" Emma nodded, voice clear. "Yes. I'm afraid he'll try to take my baby if he's allowed near me again." The judge turned to her clerk. "Protective order granted. Effective immediately. Mr. Collins, you are barred from contacting Miss Collins or entering within 500 feet of her residence, medical facilities, or place of employment. Any attempt to do so will result in criminal contempt." Harold exploded. "This is a family conspiracy. My own sons have turned on me." The bailiff stood up. "Mr. Collins, one more outburst and you're out." Harold clenched his fists, then sat down slowly, seething. Inside the courtroom, Emma burst into tears. Not out of fear, out of relief. Marcus put an arm around her. I stood next to them, watching the glass doors behind us. I knew Harold wouldn't stop. Not really. But now, for the first time, he couldn't hide behind the word family, and that changed everything. Harold didn't show up for the follow-up hearing. Instead, he filed a handwritten appeal, scribbled in blue ink, where he referred to Emma as emotionally erratic and accused me of orchestrating a plot to seize control of family legacy. The judge tossed it out the same day, called it rambling and without legal merit. That's when the silence started. Not the peaceful kind, the strategic kind, the kind Harold always used after a blow he didn't see coming. He'd retreat, lick his wounds, scheme, wait for you to lower your guard. I didn't. Neither did Marcus. Emma moved in with a friend across town. Different address. No paper trail. Marcus picked up extra shifts, and I helped watch over their stuff while they sorted out a longer-term plan. Then one night, Diane called. She sounded tired again, like she hadn't slept in weeks. "He's been calling lawyers," she said. "No one'll take the case. Not after the restraining order. He says you poisoned the family name." "Did I?" I asked. She sighed. "No, he did. A long time ago." She told me something else too. Something I didn't expect. "I'm filing for divorce." I sat up straighter. "Seriously?" "I've been done for years," she said. But I kept waiting for a quieter time. A moment that never came. Watching him go after Emma, I realized there's never going to be peace with him. There's only escape. And then, softer, "I should have left when your mother did." That hit harder than I wanted to admit. Because my mom walked away when I was 12. Took nothing but a car full of clothes and a promise to write. She told me once, before she vanished into a different zip code, "Your father's world has gravity. It pulls everything toward him. If you don't fight it, it'll swallow you whole." Back then, I thought she was being dramatic. Now, I saw it for what it was. A warning. Emma's due date was approaching, and she'd started texting me more, asking if I'd be willing to be listed as an emergency contact. If I could help drive her to the hospital when the time came. Of course, I said yes. Marcus was working nights to make ends meet. He was trying. They both were. But I knew Harold was still out there. I hadn't seen him, hadn't heard from him directly, but I felt him. Like a shadow just off stage, waiting for the next act. That came 2 weeks later, through the mail, a large manila envelope addressed to Mr. Irving Collins. Inside, a notarized letter, and a copy of a trust document, one that claimed that Harold had placed Emma's unborn child into a pre-birth family trust, with himself listed as primary executor and beneficiary. Was dated 3 weeks earlier, before the restraining order. An illegal standing. Not worth the paper it was printed on, but the message was clear. He hadn't given up. Not even close. The trust was a bluff. A twisted legal fanfiction Harold had drafted to scare us, but it worked for a moment. Marcus paced my kitchen like he was trying to wear a hole through the tile. He really thought he could own a baby before it's even born, like it's a boat or a stock portfolio. Emma didn't say much. She just held the paper with shaking hands, reading it over and over like it might change. It didn't. My lawyer confirmed it had zero legal weight. You can't assign a trust to someone else's unborn child without consent from the legal parents, which Harold was not, and never would be. but the trust was evidence of intent. It showed the judge that Harold's attempts weren't random outbursts, they were methodical, dangerous, and ongoing. We filed for a permanent restraining order the same day. It was granted within the week. Harold was barred from contacting Emma, Marcus, or me for 5 full years. Barred from filing further claims. Barred from seeing the child once born. The judge's language was unusually direct. This court views Mr. Harold Collins as a manipulative and coercive individual who has demonstrated a pattern of abuse masked as concern. This order is not punishment. It is protection. That night, we didn't celebrate. We just sat, quiet. Still, Emma started to cry. Not loud sobs. Just quiet tears that slid down her face without shaking her shoulders. I didn't think it would ever stop, she whispered. It hasn't, I told her. But now, we've built a wall he can't climb. And then life moved forward. She gave birth a month later. A quiet, uncomplicated labor. A healthy baby boy. They named him Leo. They listed me as his godfather. Harold never found out. Not until a distant cousin posted baby photos. By then, it didn't matter. He sent one letter through his lawyer. Not to apologize. Not to reconnect. Just to say, I forgive you for the damage you've done. I didn't even open it. I handed it to my lawyer. We filed it with the restraining order documents under the label, Delusions of Entitlement. Months passed. Marcus got a new job. Emma found part-time remote work. I helped them move into a 2-bedroom apartment 3 towns over. Farther from Harold. Closer to peace. Diane finalized her divorce. She sent me a card on Leo's birthday. You saved more than your house. You saved all of us. And in a way I did. But here's what I know now. Family isn't about who raised you. It's about who respects you. Who protects you. Who shows up without expecting rent in return. My father tried to claim everything: my house, my dignity, a baby not even born. All because he believed power was his birthright. But what he never understood is that power doesn't come from fear. It comes from saying no. From building boundaries like walls. And from lighting them with floodlights so bright, even a shadow like him can't slip through. I still have the trust document. I framed it, hung it on the back of the closet door in the nursery. As a reminder for Leo of the day his grandfather tried to claim him, like property, and the day we all said no. The day we won.